let's get into the 15 ways to be slower than her when you're dating. So that way you can actually cause her to be more attracted to you in a quicker amount of time. So first one, say it all the time, call and text less. Dudes, you're going on dates, having a good time. It is not your job to try to build rapport or build a relationship with a girl by texting her and calling her throughout the course of the week. What we want to see is we want to see her being the one to initiate conversations with you. And most guys don't experience that because they're so busy thinking they got to be the ones to initiate that they don't take a minute to just stop and pause and say, hey, I deserve to be caught. And I'm already going to be texting her or calling her when I ask her out for dates. If she wants more conversation than that, she's got 2 thumbs. She can text me. She can pick up the phone and call. And I just, in my personal dating life, I have found that when I lowered the amount of texting calls that I was doing, the results were usually A, women hitting me up to try to talk to me more, or B, women saying, hey, so I was wondering, like, are you just not a texter person? Like, I like to really text and stuff like that. But when she's complaining, what she's actually doing is saying, I want to hear from you more because I like you. So all it does is make them give away that they like you a lot more. And so that's why if you're texting less, you're going to find that a good read for that is when you do that, she's going to be trying to reach out to you a bit more, which is what we want. Because if she's reaching out to you, she can't be complaining that you're reaching out too much, okay? So, and I know this might be a new concept to some of you about waiting between dates to text a woman, not calling her, all this other stuff. Guys, I say it all the time. She's going to know that you like her when you hit her up to ask for that next date, okay? But we need to also have some barometers in place for you to be able to recognize when she's starting to like you more. Not texting or calling so much is a great way for you to get that read. All right. So that's the first one. The second one is delay your responses when she initiates text. So you're waiting between 4 or 5 days to hit her up for that next date, right? And she hits you up on day number 2. Hey, handsome, or hey, cutie, how you doing today? Now, and I think sometimes guys mix this up with the message that I say, because I say don't initiate text between those 4 days. But if she initiates a text, you do want to respond. But for that first text she sends you, you want to wait. You want to delay it by at least 30 minutes to an hour. So she'll hit you up, hey, cutie, blah, 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 blah. Do something else. Go on the computer, look up a video, talk to your buddies, but wait a minimum of 30 minutes. When I started practicing this, I waited a minimum of 20 minutes, but give her the time to not hear from you. And on that first text, right? So you wait about 30 minutes to an hour, hit her up. Oh, hey, so-and-so, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And then from there, if you want to have some small banter, you can, or you can go into, hey, I was thinking about you, had a great time last night. We should do this again next Thursday. Let me know if you're free, right? But the point is, when you delay that first response, right, that's going to be 20 to 30 minutes where she's going to be in her head wondering if you're going to respond to her. She's going to wonder if maybe she shouldn't have texted and this was a bad day. Is she looking too desperate? Are you now not going to ever talk to her? And then you respond. And she's like, oh, he's responding. But that 20 to 30 minutes is crucial because most guys she's dating, as soon as she texts them, oh, blah, blah, blah. And believe it or not, women don't want to envision you sitting next to your phone, anticipating, waiting for her to hit you up. Like that is a very feminine image that she's going to have in her head about you sitting next to the phone, waiting for her to hit you up. We don't want that. But if she hits you up and you wait 20, 30 minutes, now you look like a guy that's busy. Now it's going to be more like, oh my God, he didn't respond for like an hour. He must have been so busy and he took time out of his day to respond to me. Oh my God, I feel so special. So again, if you're responding slower, you're going to get better reactions. Okay. Now, after that first text, you want to kind of dibble and dabble between responding every like 2 minutes to every 5 or 10 minutes, whatever. And then at some point, stop the conversation. Like, don't say, I'm stopping the conversation, but she'll send back a thing like, oh, you're so silly. And then leave it be. And then don't reach out to her again until it's time to ask for a date or until she hits you up again, you know? But yeah, we want to really work on part of this exercise also is that way you can get the idea in your head that if you delay responding back to a woman, most of them are going to be fine. And honestly, the ones that get on you about why didn't you respond back right away, you don't want to date them. I had a girl I dated years ago who, like, she would hit me up and I would wait and I would respond back to her and then she would just text, and I got annoyed. So at some point I'd be like, okay, great, blah, 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 whatever. And then she'd send a text and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna leave it alone. 2 minutes later, hello, are you still there? Are you cheating on me with somebody? What's going on? So even then, delaying my response was actually good because it allowed me to suss out, that she does not have her head on straight and I need to get out of here, which I did. The third way to move slower than her is to keep those first few dates short, because a lot of men make the mistake of you get on a date with a girl and you're thinking, okay, it's going to last like 45, 50 minutes. And then the conversation's going good. She's smelling good. She's looking good. You're thinking there's a chance we could hook up. And now you're like, well, I know I should probably only keep it for like an hour, but I'm going to try to extend this date to like 5 or 6 hours. And you guys will do that and think, oh, we had such a great date. This first date, we talked about all this stuff and had a good time. And then you're surprised when you try to ask for a second date and she's suddenly, I'm busy, or I'm not feeling it. And you're like, what's going on? The problem is this: you spent too much time with her on that first date. Spending too much time with a woman makes her feel like you're already in a relationship. And if she's not there yet, then all it's going to do is make her second guess and start double checking her emotions about how she really felt about you. And did it actually warrant spending that much time with you? How did she enjoy all that time? And it's going to make her second guess it. And so and it's not that that's not always the case, but I give you guys advice on probability. You have a better chance of going out on a date with a girl for the first time and keeping it to an hour, 90 minutes tops, and then cutting it short at the height of enjoyment, and then being able to get a date with her later because she's anticipating spending more time with you, than you do spending that first date 5, 6, 7 hours, because it's going to be overexposure. It's not going to allow her to anticipate seeing you because she already knows what it's like seeing you because she spent 8 hours with you and you're going to be out. All right. Versus if you spend a little bit amount of time with her, then you'll find on the second date, now she's the one that's trying to extend it because now she's starting to build more comfort with you. And it's her decision to stretch it out versus you being like, well, I'm paying for the date, and so I'm going to take her out and I'm not going to let her go. I'm going to keep talking at this table. I'm going to suggest 5 other places to go, and you're ruining it for her in the process. All right? So let's not do that. The fourth way to move slower than her is when you're talking to her in conversations, right? Tease things that have a bigger story, but do not reveal it all right? You got to understand, guys, women love stories, but more importantly, they love having to be entrenched in a journey to whereby they don't quite know the ending and they want to get there eventually, but they want to hear the peaks and valleys of the journey. And you trying to do all this on date one is not helping you. So for example, right? Let's say you guys are on a date, you guys are talking about, like, do you guys like the vacation, right? And you say something like, oh man, yeah, you know what? This, like for me, I went, oh man, this is great. Like, I actually went to Australia and I had a good time in Australia. Oh, and she'll be like, oh, really? Like, what was it like? It's like, oh, it was a lot. It was a fun time. I'll go into detail more later because there was some really like amazing stuff that happened at like this one place I went to. Oh my God, but that'll be for another time. So anyway, and then I ask her something about herself. But what have I done? I've now teased that I went to a country and some major stuff happened and I didn't finish the story. So now she has to go home and think, man, I had a great time with that guy and I want to know the rest of that Australia story. So the only way she gets to know the story is if we go out a couple more times. And it might take a few more dates before I go into the full story, So, nothing happened, by the way. I ate kangaroo. It was amazing. I had kangaroo burger. And then I went to the top of this, the tallest building in Australia. And I went to this buffet and they had kangaroo there also, but I lost my taste. So I paid like $50 to go to a buffet and couldn't taste anything. That's a fascinating story, but that's when, again, I could tease that and then tell it later. So think about really good stories based on what's actually happened to you in your life, and then figure out a way that you can piecemeal those stories bit by bit. So you're basically spoon feeding her stories, but in order for her to get the full stories, she has to be with you throughout the course of the dating process, all right? And so that's a cheap way that you can go about moving things a bit slower, because women want stories from you. But I think the mistake guys make is we hear women want to know about us, and we want to tell them all the things on the first or second date. Don't do that. Piece it out, man. Like, pace that story out to where it's an enjoyable journey and it leaves her anticipating hearing more of it later on, all right? The fifth way to move slower than her is to, spoon feed her personal details about your life. So yeah, it's like you can mention on a date, like, hey, my parents back in the day, they got divorced. Oh, what happened? I don't want to get into it now. I'll talk about it a little bit later once we get to know each other more. But anyway, blah, 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 blah. Then the next day, yeah, my mom cheated on my dad, so they broke up. Oh my God, how'd that happen? You know what? I'll talk about it later. And the next date, yes, my mom, she was like, she met this guy at work and they got along. And so it's like she's getting bits of this story each time she's on a date with you. But again, you're giving it in a style that really makes women anticipate hearing the next chapter of the story, right? The sixth way to move slower than her in the beginning is to only see her once a week. Like, I know you met her at a party, she smelled good, she looked good, you had a makeout session at the party, you actually got her on a date, and you're thinking, man, based on these 2 times that I met her, we already got chemistry, and I can already feel this feeling like a relationship. Don't do that. Guys, too many of you guys are making the mistake of thinking that whatever you're doing with this girl feels like a relationship. No, it feels like the dating process, and in your head you have lust, and it's making you want to spend more and more time with her to eventually get a hookup. Be patient. In the beginning, only ask for 1 day a week. You're only asking for 1 day of her time, all right? Because again, we want her to be the one to start thinking and feeling, man, this guy's so great, I think I want to see him more than once a week. How's that going to happen? I guess I got to go to him and express that I want that to happen. And if she's coming towards you doing that, then what she's not doing is rejecting you when you've asked her out for the 3rd day in a row. And she's like, I got family, I got friends. This guy wants to see me all the time. Why is he so obsessed with me already? Like, oh my God. So yeah, only ask her out once a week. And you're going to find, I'm telling you guys, if you ask her out just once a week, inevitably what's going to happen is she's going to come to you and try to get you to agree to see her some other time in the week. Like, hey, I know we have a date on Thursday again this week, but like, you want to come over Tuesday for dinner? Oh, you get to go over for a hookup that you didn't anticipate because you were patient, because you were showing that you had the ability to have a good time with her, but not be so obsessed that you're going to try to galvanize her time without her being there yet. All right. Once she gets there, guys, I'm telling you, it's amazing how often women are going to want to ask you for your time, but that can't happen if you're trying to be the one to go in and ask her for hers all the time first. All right. Another way to move things slower than her, do surprising gestures occasionally, but not all the time. So guys mixed up where they like, in the dating process, you're thinking, okay, date 1, I'm gonna get her flowers. Date 2, I'm gonna buy her this, that, blah, 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 blah. And it becomes very monotonous. And we don't want you doing actions that are monotonous because women will start to take them for granted. So I don't recommend in the first 2 months of dating, getting a woman a gift of any kind, really, But what I'll do this though, at the point where it looks like we're about to be closer to a relationship, I might think back on something she said, like, hey, you mentioned on date 1 that you like these kind of trinkets. And so I just happened to see this trinket and I got it for you. Here you go. And then you leave it alone and don't get anything for like another 2 or 3 months or until you become the boyfriend. Like when you space it out, those moments are going to be so much more meaningful to her because she'll know that she earned those moments. Like you getting her some flowers and candy on date 1. Well, you didn't know her that much. She did nothing to earn those things. And women actually want to be able to earn her way their ways into relationships. So at the point where you're giving her gifts, you can give her a gift here and there. And again, you do it sporadically. Like, don't be the guy that's constantly doing it all the time. Again, they will take it for granted. But if you do it every so often, then she'll have a really big, like, feelings of like grandeur and gushing and all that other stuff when it's like, oh my God, this guy got me this thing. And then like 2 months later, oh my God, he got me flowers today. Versus you're getting flowers every time you see her. And she's like, oh yeah, he got me another thing of flowers today, it's whatever. Like, they're not going to appreciate it, The 8th way to move slower than her in the dating process, all right, is do not initiate text between dates. As I've stressed before, we want her coming to you. And so your job is to only text and call her in terms of initiating those texts and calls when you're asking her for a date. Other than that, you want her to come to you and try to facilitate like banter conversation. Like a lot of guys think, I got to do all this banter in order for a woman to like me. Dude, you trying to initiate banter, it gives off the vibe of feminine energy. I'm sorry, it is that way. It just is, right? Like, even when you become the boyfriend, you should still be doing a 3-to-1, meaning she should be initiating 3 texts for every 1 text that you're initiating. But part of it's because, again, her coming to you and looking for your approval is female energy. You going to her to seek approval is still female energy, and coming from you, it's going to turn women off. So when you don't initiate text, you give her the space to come to you when she's ready to have more conversation. And that's what you want ultimately, all right? And again, I stress, it's initiating. When she texts you, initiates text, you can text her back. You're going to still initiate when it's time to ask her on dates. And like I said, at some point, women might say, hey, so I noticed you really text a lot, blah, 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 blah. You can say, hey, you know what, babe? I like to make sure that I see your face in person and talk to you in person. And I like to make sure that there's no miscommunication because I really, really like what we have going here. And so I don't really like to text all that much. But that said, if you're reaching out to me, I'll always respond back. And I'm definitely going to reach out to you when I want to see you. So that's always a plus. But don't think that if she brings up how much you're not texting, that means you have to do the opposite and text her all the time. Because I literally had dated women before where they were like, hey, so I wish you would text me more. And then I start texting more. And then like a week or two later, so I'm just not feeling. Because again, women do not have to know the things that turn them off or turn them on. They're the ones that are reacting to the things we do. So they're not going to necessarily be aware that hearing from you all the time actually turns them off. You have to be aware of that. The 9th way to move slower than her. This is a good one, guys. You ready for it? Do not rush into physical intimacy. And this might be hard for you guys, especially those of you that like haven't had any in a long time and you're going out with a girl that seems to really, really like you. I'm not even saying wait 4 or 5 months to hook up with her. I'm just saying those first couple of times when it looks like it could possibly happen, try delaying it. Like I've had it where, I've done first date hookups, but I've also done it where I wait till like the 3rd or 4th date. I've also done it where I waited 2 or 3 months. And I found that the longer that I was able to facilitate that we wait for this thing, the better chance there was that when it did happen, it was all systems go. Like there's no rejection. But part of that's because most women aren't used to guys being the ones to turn them down or to be the ones being patient with sex. They're used to guys like, okay, I'm going on a date with this guy and I already know he's going to want to hook up with me before the date's over with. And I used to tell girls, there'll be times where I would date girls and they'd be like, hey, so just so you know, it's the 2nd date, but like, I don't see us, going all the way on this particular date because I want to take my time. And my response would always be, I was a virgin until I was 23. If anything, I cannot wait you. I cannot wait you. Matter of fact, if you want to wait like 2 or 3 months, we can totally do that too. Now, what's interesting is when I would tell that to women, they're like, I can wait longer than you. We can delay it to longer. Their response would be like, I don't want to wait that long. Why? Because it's a bluff. Like they're saying that because they're going to see if them expressing that they want to be a bit patient with sex is going to throw you off your game so they can see that you're all just about sex. But if you actually say to them, that's cool. So you want to go like watch a movie or something or do whatever. The more nonchalant and indifferent you can be in your reaction, the more they're going to be like, oh, it's not a big deal to him if we don't do it. That's interesting. I kind of want to do it now. It's amazing. I don't understand the psychology of all this stuff. All I know is that based on my experience of these things, this is the stuff that works. So if you're not the one that's facilitating or trying to rush into physical intimacy, then they're going to be the ones that are jumping your bones. And I've literally done it where it's like, that first date, I don't expect nothing on the first date. If it happens, fantastic. But that 2nd date, most women in their head think, okay, the 2nd date, more likely what's going to happen is there's going to be a first kiss, and then this guy is going to probably want to go from the first kiss to a hookup. So when you go in for that first kiss, and then you say, well, I had a good time, good night. Now she's going to be like, oh, okay, great. Wow, but that kiss was dynamic. Oh my God, I kind of wish we had done more. Like, I wonder if we can possibly do more next time. And then fast forward to next time, and they invite you up to their house, and you're just kind of palling around talking to them, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're making out, and then she's reaching for your parts, and you're like, oh, it's go time. But that's because you were patient, which made her realize that you're going to respect whatever decision she has. And her feeling like you respect her, regardless of if she hooks up with you or not, will make her want to hook up with you. But that's only if you're moving slower than her in that realm, okay? The 10th way to move slower than her is do not initiate conversations about your feelings. Too many men have bought into the lie that women have to know exactly how you feel. In fact, I'm a fan of The Bachelorette and The Bachelor show. I just finished watching The Bachelorette, and that show was all about, well, I got to have a conversation to her about where I'm at in my feelings and how I feel and that I'm falling in love and blah, 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 blah. And, for TV, it looks great. But guys, in real life, you try to have this conversation with her. So I just want to know, I want to express to you how I feel and I love you and feelings and blah, blah, blah. One, that's the woman's job. That is feminine energy. You do not do it. But also to the point is that initiating comments about your feelings does not make her express feelings to you. And all that matters in this process is where her feelings are at, because we know your feelings are already there. So you expressing them is like me saying I want the letters R, S, T, L, N, and E on Wheel of Fortune. Like those letters are always guessed. We know it's going to happen. We get it. You're a guy, you're horny, you're feeling things. You already have feelings for her. It ain't got to be expressed because your feelings do not matter. Like where you're at in your feelings doesn't matter nearly as much as hers because she has to dive through more hoops in the realm of emotions and feelings to get to where she has a strong enough connection with you to where she feels like dating you is a solidified choice. All right. So in the process of her figuring that out, you giving your feelings out is actually a distraction. You try to say, hey, so I know it's been 3 dates, but I'm already feeling things. She's going to be thinking, how did he get there so fast? And if he's saying he feels these things and I don't, then it's now unfair to continue to date him because it's not fair to him that I'm not there yet. All right. So when you peel back, you're going to find they're going to come to you and start saying things like, so you see anybody else? Or so I really appreciate this date and I had such a good time and you're such a great guy. And they'll start blabbing out all these things, which will give you the radar to know that she's building feelings. And when you're not saying all these things about your feelings, you're going to find that she's going to get more intense with saying her feelings about you every time you go out, which let you know that her interest in you is building at a very good rate, oftentimes faster than it would have had you been expressing feelings. The 11th thing to do to move slower than her, this is the big one. Keep yourself on the dating apps until you have agreed to a relationship with her. So many dudes make the mistake of going on a few good dates and then thinking, you know what? I don't need to be on these dating apps anymore because I've already made my decision. She's the one I'm focusing on. And therefore, I'm getting off the apps. And she's going to appreciate that. You know what happens? These women go back on the app. I saw a Reddit post today where this woman's like, I'm going out with a guy for 2 months and things are going great, but I went on the dating apps just to go through previous matches that I had, and I saw that he changed his picture. Oh, I'm so mad. But she's not mad. What happened? Because think about it. She went back on the dating app. Why? To check on him, but also because she wanted to go through those other matches to possibly see if maybe any of them she also felt a connection with still. All right. So I say this because while you're thinking, I'm off the dating apps, she's going back on the dating app and she's looking through her messages. And when you dismatch with somebody, typically the messages go away. So she's looking for your guys' messages and she's like, they're not here. Oh, crap. He got off the dating app, but it's only been 3 dates. Has he already chosen me? How do I feel about that? And the way she feels is that you're rushing your feelings. So I recommend that you stay on the dating apps until she comes to you. Hey, so are you still on the dating apps? Well, I deleted my dating app. And so are we going to be seeing each other exclusively? That's what you want to happen. You actually want her to see that you're still on dating apps. I mean, you don't want to like show it to her directly, but if she happens to go on a dating app and sees you're still there, or that you've changed pictures, all that does is put herself in competition with other people that you could or could not be dating. All right. So do not delete yourself from dating apps. I know you want to be a loyal guy, an honest guy. You don't want her to get hurt anyway. And so you're thinking if she even knows that I'm still in these dating apps, it's going to hurt her feelings. That's how a guy with logic think about things. You got to understand women work on emotion. If she sees you on a dating app, she's going to be thinking, oh, but he makes me feel all these things. I need to have a talk with him about how I feel so he won't do this anymore. Let her be the one to come to you to talk about the whole dating app situation, all right? Number 12, take your time answering her silly love questions, all right? It's going to be a point in time if, you guys are dating, she's going to be asking things like, so how do you feel about me? Or so are you seeing other people? Or so, do you really feel this connection? And you would think that woman asking that, if you gave answers like, oh, I absolutely love you right now, and I feel the world for you, I'm not seeing anybody else, you would think that she'd want to hear those answers and it'd make her happy, right? But understand, this is an example of like, sometimes women will ask questions that they're not even aware of are trick questions, and they don't want the answers that they think they want. So if she says to you, hey, so how do you feel about me? Again, it's like the first month of dating, right? And you're thinking to yourself, well, I think I already have strong, intense feelings for her. So I'll tell her that, yeah, I have some really strong, intense feelings for you. Well, she's going to hear you say that and feel it 3 times more than you meant it. You're thinking that based on where you're at in the journey, that you're building things and you're feeling intense, and you're thinking, but you're not all the way there yet, but you at least know that they're intense, which for you is the way that you help to further build towards your attraction to her. And all she's hearing is intense equals he already wants me as the girlfriend and I don't feel that way quite yet. And so now I feel weird about that. And so you have to be slow in these answers. You have to know how to answer them so that way it's not going to trigger her wanting to go away. So same question. So how do you feel about me? What do you mean? Well, I mean, like we've been dating for like a month. Like, how do you feel? Where are your feelings at? Oh, I think it's going pretty good. Like, having a good time so far. Now, she's going to be like, okay, he must like me because I'm here answering, he's answering the question. I'm here with him right now. So he really likes me, but I don't know what level of like that is. Exactly. She does not actually want to know the level of like that you have for her in that moment, regardless of if she thinks she wants it or not. Because if anything you express that indicates a level that might be slightly higher than hers is going to feel like you like her way too much more than she likes you. All right. So be mindful of answering these silly love questions and being able to answer them playfully and not be so serious with them and still not putting out all these feelings, which leads to number 13, moving slower than her. You want to delay saying, I love you until she says it. You guys have been in the habit of saying, I love you when you ask her on dates, or I love you when you're trying to ask her to be the girlfriend. And all this does more often than not is scare women away, because love is a very intense thing to feel, but it's also an emotion that for women feels like it needs to be earned over time. This is why women will take their precious time saying, I love you, because they want to make sure all the boxes are checked, all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, because she knows at the point where she says and feels I love you, there is no coming back from that. At that point, that is a point where if you get rid of her and dump her, she's going to be devastated. So she takes her time because she wants to get to a point where she's pretty much assured that not only does she like you, but you like her enough to where this is going to be in it for the long haul, at which point she'll say it. That's why you coming in at month 2 and saying I love you feels off to her, because she's not there in her journey yet. And again, this goes back to, it's going to be better for you as the guy to do actions that indicate I love you, but waiting for her to do the verbal part of saying I love you before you say it. And then even once you start saying that the I love yous a lot to each other, it's 3 to 1. For every 3 I love you she gives you, you give her 1 back. Don't get into the habit of like being a parent where she's like, I love you. And you're like, I love you too. Because women will call you out on that. You only say I love you when I say it back. Versus you, like, she says, I love you. You say, oh, great, honey, thanks, blah, blah, blah. And then out of the blue one day, okay, honey, I'm going to work. Talk to you later. Oh, love you. Oh my God, he said it. She wants to anticipate hearing I love you versus it becoming a monotonous thing that ends up meaning nothing. All right. So yeah, be more patient when you're putting out your I love yous, okay? Number 14 way to move slower than her is wait for her to come to ask you about transitioning the relationship. Now, and one of the previous messages I read, that guy was like, it was 4 months. I couldn't wait anymore. I had to ask her. You always want to wait for her. Women, I know women say this thing of like, they want the guy to come to them to ask them out and blah, 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 blah. That is only partially true, because what's going to actually happen to get you into a relationship is she's going to come along and ask you some questions or do some actions that are passively her way of trying to express that she now wants to have the conversation of being in a relationship with you, all right? And most guys don't get to that point because they allow their excitedness about being in a relationship to make them be the ones to ask, and they ask too soon. Like, and you know, to be fair, there will be women coaches on YouTube that will say the opposite of what I'm saying. They'll say, no, you got to wait for the guy to come to you. Bull crap. Because for them, it's all about how they feel. For us, it's very analytical. I'm going on dates, spending money, having a good time. Sex is great. We should be there. So we're already ones that want to do the stuff. But for them, they have to have those thoughts on top of, do I feel safe around him? Do I trust him? Does he make me feel better than any other guy? Could I see a future with him? And if those things aren't there, you could come to her all day being like, I'm ready for a relationship. If she does not feel like she's ready for a relationship, then all you're doing is fighting a losing battle towards her wanting to dump you. So it's better for you as the guy, regardless of what all these other women coaches are saying, to wait for her to come to you to start signaling things that indicate she's now ready to be in a relationship, okay? When you do that, you're going to find women are going to come to you a lot faster. Like I tell you guys, wait 2 to 3 months. I've had women at the 1.5 to 2 month mark be like, so what are we doing? So what's up? Because I waited, because I was patient, because I was only taking them out sporadically on dates here and there, because I wasn't verbalizing feelings, because I wasn't the one texting or calling all the time. They were able to come to me and ask these questions because part of them coming to me is so they can further solidify that I'm interested in them. And that's ultimately what you want. The last way to move slower than her, especially for you introverted guys, you'll love this. Keep your alone time. Like so many introverts get into this place where they end up sacrificing their alone time because they think that if they are still wanting their alone time, it's going to turn the woman off. I can tell you assuredly, I've dated so many women that have been thankful that I want my alone time, that I'm not the jealous type that allows them to have their alone time or to continue to hang out with their other friends and family outside of me, all right? But more importantly, the reason you want to keep your alone time, guys, this is key, right? Is because you want to be able to use that as a way to help her convince herself that she's getting more and more into your good graces. I'll explain, right? So I'm a guy that likes his alone time, but I have found that when I'm with somebody that I truly like and I enjoy their company and they're bringing a lot to my world, the amount of alone time that I actually need goes down significantly. But I don't give up that alone time in the beginning because I understand the mechanics of they need to earn more of my time. And they actually feel like I like them more because over time I'll say things like, you know what? I'm an introvert and I like my alone time, but I find that just being alone with you, it feels as good as if I'm having alone time. You'd be surprised how many women melt. Oh my God, that feels so great. Or like, because they understand that it's a big deal. To me, sacrificing my alone time to spend 5 or 10 extra minutes with them means the world to them. Versus if I'm a guy that's just giving up all my time and then none of the time I give up is ever going to be appreciated because it's like, he's always spending time with me. I don't ever get a break from him. Oh my God. Versus if I keep my alone time, oh, I want to see him right now, but oh, he said he needs his alone time. Oh, I really want to see him. It builds up anticipation. It builds up a desire to see me more. And then at the point that I'm no longer having my alone time and I see them again, they really want to make sure that they're able to show how appreciative I am for being around, you know? So those are just a few of the things you can do. But the point is this, is that, like I said, when you move at a slower pace, they're going to be ones that are going to come to you. They're going to actually respect the fact that you're being patient because it shows that you're not rushing into a relationship, which means you're giving them the time that they need to really think about and consider if they want to be in a relationship with you, what that means, and how they feel about that. And you guys that are rushing in, you are truly, truly missing out, possibly on women that you could have actually gotten with because you're not being patient, okay? You don't lose points if you're a bit more patient than her, but you do lose points if you're going faster than her, all right? So of the two of you, she can afford to go a little bit faster than you. You cannot afford the same. So learn to be slower and more patient in your dating, and I assure you, the results that you're gonna get are gonna be a lot better.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man.